Today is Monday, March 8th. What to know now that the COVID-19 relief bill is one step closer to becoming law, how the Russian and Chinese governments are seemingly targeting Americans online. And we'll tell you about the Pope's historic trip. Plus, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's revealing interview about suffering in the royal family. What's behind fewer families having babies now? And why today is celebrated around the world. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Nearly $2 trillion in relief money is likely going to start rolling out to Americans soon. The Senate passed the latest aid package over the weekend, but only after more than 27 hours of debate. In the end, as expected, every Democrat voted for it and every Republican voted against it. Remember, the Republicans have argued the overall size of this bill is too large and that not everything included is necessary or related to the pandemic. But Democrats disagree. In fact, President Biden gave an address over the weekend calling the bill historic. He said, quote, "This nation has suffered too much for too long, and everything in this package is designed to relieve the suffering." Biden says 85% of American households will soon get direct payments of $1,400 a person. Other parts of the bill include a $300 a week bonus in unemployment benefits, $350 billion in aid for state and local governments, $130 billion for schools, $14 billion for vaccine distribution, and a lot more. It's very similar to the bill that already passed in the House, but the Senate did change up some of the most controversial parts of it, like taking out the federal minimum wage increase. So the House is set to vote tomorrow on whether to approve those changes. And yes, the House is expected to sign off once again along party lines. Since Dems have the majority in the House, it'll likely head to President Biden soon, who is expected to sign it into law. Then, just days after that, Americans will likely start seeing those direct payments hit their bank accounts. A more contagious version of the new coronavirus is spreading quickly across most of the United States. We're talking about the strain first detected in the UK. It already forced a lot of Europe into lockdown earlier this winter, and now it's spreading faster than ever here in the US. In fact, one analysis from a lab testing company says as of last week, the UK strain makes up 20%, or about a fifth, of all new cases in the US. Experts say it's likely going to become the dominant strain here in the US before the month is out. And that worries some of them. The CDC found it spreads more easily than other versions of COVID-19. And while the U.S. is still researching it, the UK government and scientists have said it's more deadly as well. Ultimately, health officials say we can prevent the spread of this version just like the original strain, which means wearing your mask, keeping your distance, and getting your vaccine as soon as it's your turn. Well, we have two cyber threats to tell you about today. One is believed to come from the Russian government, the other from the Chinese government. First, be wary of fake news sites that may be spreading wrong or misleading information about COVID-19 vaccines. An official with the U.S. State Department told the Wall Street Journal Russia is now running a campaign to try and damage Americans' confidence in the shots available here in the U.S. That official said there are at least 4 websites out there spreading disinformation. They're called New Eastern Outlook, Oriental Review, Newsfront, and Rebel Inside. And their stories may be picked up and circulated by other media around the world. Apparently, these sites have exaggerated things like the vaccine's risk of side effects or questioned how effective the shots really are. Experts say it's just Russia's way of promoting its own vaccine instead. Although a Russian government official did call the claims nonsense. All right, so the second threat is more of a traditional hack that may have affected tens of thousands of Microsoft users. Microsoft says it all started back in January. Hackers apparently found a vulnerability and got into Microsoft's email and calendar service exchange. Those systems are used by small businesses, state and local governments, and even some military contractors. Microsoft says the hackers were able to steal emails and install malware that could keep tabs on their targets. The company believes the Chinese government is behind this one. In response, China said simply, cyber attacks are a complex technical issue. So what can be done about it? At this point, cybersecurity experts are telling organizations, companies, and government agencies who may have been impacted to check for any signs of malware and to go ahead and assume they've been compromised. Of course, Microsoft is also urging all users to install the latest security fixes to at least prevent any further hacking. A historic trip over the weekend, Pope Francis became the first pope and leader of the Catholic Church to ever visit Iraq. It was also the Pope's first international trip since the pandemic was declared a year ago. A lot happened in his 3-day visit. The Pope visited parts of Iraq that until recently were controlled by ISIS. He prayed in hollowed-out churches that were nearly demolished by the terrorist organization. He met with other religious leaders, including Iraq's top Ayatollah, who leads the country's Shiite Muslims. And finally, he held a mass at an outdoor stadium. As the AP reports, an estimated 10,000 people showed up to see him speak, which did cause some criticism considering the risk of COVID-19. The Pope urged the crowd to forgive Muslim extremists for all they've done and to rebuild. Earlier, he said, quote, "Hope is more powerful than hatred, peace more powerful than war." The Pope returned to Rome this morning. All right, we have more news coming up, but first, thanks to our sponsor, BlueBlox. The BlueBlox team is well-versed in the peer-reviewed research when it comes to blue light blocking glasses, and the company was actually created because the founders were unhappy with the quality of the other brands. Now, BlueBlox has created the largest selection of frames to choose from, along with lenses for daytime, nighttime, and even color therapy. As someone who works a lot late at night, I really appreciate their Sleep Plus red lens option, made to be worn just a couple hours before bedtime. But it really is about making sure you get the right pair of glasses for you. In fact, BlueBlox is the only company who offers a send-in-your-own-frame service if you want, so you can actually send in an old or current pair of frames, and they'll turn them into BlueBlox glasses for you. Whether you do that or buy brand new, BlueBlox caters to everyone, including kids. So learn more and get 20% off your order at blueblox.com/newsworthy. That's BlueBlox, spelled BLUBLOX.com/newsworthy, BLUBLOX.com/newsworthy to get 20% off your order. Okay, now back to the news. It was a highly anticipated interview that's already shocked much of the world. For the first time, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle spoke publicly about the struggles they faced inside the royal family. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex sat down with Oprah Winfrey and revealed more than almost anyone would have expected. They say the royal family had conversations about how dark Harry and Meghan's first baby Archie would be, since Meghan is half black. And they say the family spoke about not giving Archie security or a title. Also, Meghan said she had thoughts of suicide while she was a working member of the royal family. Both Harry and Meghan said she pleaded for help but did not receive any mental health support from the family. They wouldn't say exactly who said what to them, but Harry made it clear he has a good relationship with the Queen, but that he is disappointed by his father and, quote, "there's a lot to work through there." As for his brother, Prince William, Harry said although he loves him very much, they're on different paths. So far, no official response from the royal family. But there was at least one lighthearted moment in the interview. Harry and Meghan revealed their second child is going to be a girl, and she's expected this summer. It's being called a baby bust. In 2020, fewer babies were born than usual by a lot. CBS News got data from 32 states that reported 95,000 fewer births last year compared to 2019. Of those states, only one saw births go up, and that was New Hampshire. And it doesn't look like the trend is going to change anytime soon. The nonprofit research group Brookings Institution estimates there will be at least 300,000 fewer U.S. births in 2021 as well. This isn't totally unexpected during a pandemic year. Birth rates do usually fall after recessions or disease outbreaks, and this year we saw both. Some have argued the impact of things like student debt and concerns around climate change have also contributed to a larger trend of some generations having fewer kids. Either way, it could have long-term effects. The biggest one? If the birth rate is low now, that means there will be fewer people in the workforce 2 decades from now. So the Wall Street Journal says the economy could see a slump. Experts don't expect this trend to turn around until at least when the pandemic is behind us and the economy recovers. For the first time in a year, California theme parks have been given the go-ahead to reopen. The state's health department says they can get back to business, rides and all, as early as April 1st. And yes, that does include the popular Disneyland and Universal Studios, as long as the counties they're in are not dealing with a big surge in COVID-19 cases by then. All theme parks will also have to follow some new rules. They'll need to limit capacity, and guests will need to wear masks. And at least for now, no out-of-state visitors. They'll only be open to California residents. There's no official reopening date yet for any of the major theme parks there, so stay tuned. The group behind the Golden Globes is now promising to become more diverse. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association says it will make key changes in the next 60 days. First, it's hiring an independent consultant focused on diversity and inclusion. It's also going to do an outreach campaign, hoping to find Black and other underrepresented professionals who can join the group. And it will make sure everyone who's part of their organization gets training every year that goes over anti-racism and unconscious bias education. The association faced backlash over this year's Golden Globes. A recent LA Times investigation found the HFPA had no black members. So some wondered if that may be why certain critically acclaimed movies like Da 5 Bloods and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom did not get nominated for Best Picture. Now the HFPA says, quote, "We must and will do more." Today is International Women's Day. It's a day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women, and also a day to push for further gender equality and to fundraise for female-focused charities. International Women's Day has been going on for more than a century, and it is now recognized by the United Nations and celebrated all around the world. Here in the U.S., it's part of the larger Women's History Month, which celebrates the achievements of American women. Of course, this year, celebrations are largely going virtual because of the pandemic. For example, the UN is holding an online summit today with the theme Women in Leadership. And that's it for your 10 minutes of news today, but now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, this episode of The Newsworthy is presented by America's leading beverage companies who are working together to reduce plastic waste in our environment. Not all plastic is the same. America's beverage companies are carefully designing 100% recyclable plastic bottles, including the caps. Their bottles are made to be remade, and they're investing in community recycling programs to help get more bottles back so they can be turned into material used to make new bottles. That completes the circle and reduces plastic waste. Please help get every bottle back. Learn more at everybottleback.org. Again, that's everybottleback.org. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Today, we're talking about how people are spending their money on a lot more toys these days. The research firm NPD says toy sales ticked up 16% in 2020, and that means in total, people spent more than $25 billion on toys just last year. One of the biggest hits has been Barbie, which had its best sales numbers in at least 5 years. Other merchandise like Star Wars, Pokemon, and LOL surprise dolls were also in high demand. One toy industry analyst at BMO Capital says the toy industry has only experienced growth like this a few times in recent history. 2 of those years were in the 1980s, when Cabbage Patch dolls were all the rage, and another was in 1999, when Pokemon became a phenomenon. So what's behind this latest surge? Well, analysts say kids are spending more time than usual at home, so parents are looking for ways to keep them occupied. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.